Okay, so welcome guys to another Exchanger TV episode. I am so excited to have Megan Dalla-Camina with me. Hi Megan, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Now, Megan and I connected online, I think it was through Twitter last year, when I saw everything that you were doing around women in leadership. I knew that you were starting your own business. You had a book coming out as well. And I just felt like I needed to connect with you. You were just a woman out there that I thought, I need to know you. So as I say to all my connection exchanges, when you want to connect with somebody, just reach out and say hi. Yeah. So it's been so good to connect with you since then.
Thank you, and you. And I mean, isn't Twitter just the best thing? You just tweet anybody, say, I want to connect, I want to interview you, love your work, whatever. You get the most amazing tweets.
I know, it is fantastic. So Megan is a business, career and creative strategist, coach, author and speaker on women leadership and well-being. So today we are going to talk about how you do start a business when you are in a corporate job, and how you ensure that you do it, I guess, in the right way as well. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on, I guess, what your transition was, because you've had some amazing corporate roles. You know, you were the head of strategy for IBM was your last role before you exited the corporate world. So how did you balance that transition?
So, look, it's a great question, and it is the question, I think. You know, how do you, well, it's one of the questions, how do you transition out if that's what you want to do? So I was in the corporate world for 20 years, and I know I don't look that old, but 20 years, that was a joke. And my last job was head of strategy for IBM, and I was in that role for 7 years. Yeah. Big job, you know, $5 billion company, 15,000 people in Australia and New Zealand. And I was also head of gender diversity and head of organisational culture and change with a focus on leadership. Now, I did what you did. I did that job 4 days a week. Yeah. And for those who are thinking, yeah, but you really did 6 days in 4 days, no, I actually did 4 days a week.
I'm the same.
Yeah, and I did that for 7 years. So for anyone watching, listening, thinking it's not possible, it is possible, and you can do it. I guess the last sort of 5 years of my corporate career, I knew that there was something else coming, and I knew that for a couple of reasons. When I looked above me, there was no job that really inspired me. There was no job that I kind of went, that's where I'm going next. Whether I looked inside of IBM, which is an awesome company, or I looked outside, there was no job that I could see and put my finger on and go, yep, that's where I want to go. And I knew that there were areas of passion growing within the work that I was doing inside and outside of the organisation that I really wanted to give myself the chance to go deeper in, deeper and broader. So I guess about 3 years before I exited, I started thinking about and visioning what could that look like for me. I knew that it was going to be around women and work and women and well-being and how women thrive in their businesses and in their careers. I knew that it would have some aspect of doing strategy work because I was a strategist, and some element of coaching and speaking and writing because I was writing my first book at that stage. And it was really about putting the pieces together and then starting to build, okay, what is this going to look like? Yeah. How do I stay in while I'm in? So while I'm here, how do I stay fully committed? I was an executive of the company to the job that I was doing. I was still quite passionate, you know, about my role and certainly about the people that I was supporting. But how did I start to build this thing? Yeah. You know, I didn't really know what it was. Build the skills, start to build the clients, and build that transition plan, get financially secure, etc., so that when I was ready to step out, I had everything in place. And as it turned out, when I was ready to step out, I took a sabbatical, which was my sort of safe exit. Yeah. My CEO, who I'd worked for a very long time, said, we both know you're not coming back, but that's okay, we'll call it a sabbatical, that's totally fine. It was a 9-month sabbatical.
Wow.
And that let me really step in. You know, I had a couple of months off, and then I really stepped in, you know, and started taking on my clients, doing more speaking, you know, paid speaking, because I've been doing it for a long time as an executive, and, you know, really set it up and get a taste for it before I finally resigned and here we are nearly 2 years later.
Wow. And so with that, because you said obviously you were working for your CEO for quite a long time, so there was honesty and transparency there, which is great. How would you advise women that are, you know, in one foot in each camp sort of stage? Because I get some women say to me, I'm too scared to put myself out there. What if people at work find out? And I guess because I have a similar relationship in my business where there's total transparency and my leadership team know exactly what I'm doing. How could you, or what are some of the tips that you would give women around how to manage that message to the business?
Yes. So look, I think it falls into a couple of different categories. If you're working full-time for another organisation, then you're kind of all in over there, certainly within whatever business context, business arrangement you have set up for yourself. That could be 9 to 5, it could be 40 hours a week, etc. So it's a little bit challenging to declare in that context to your boss, unless you have a, you know, personal relationship, you know, that you've kind of got this thing going on the side and eventually you're going to step out. So, you know, we can talk about that context. The other context is what you are doing, what I have done, is that you work part-time. And when you work part-time, the rest of your time is your own. Yeah. And, you know, you're well within your rights to do whatever you want, especially on that other business day of the week. You know, if you're working full-time, of course, you've got your weekend. You may have evenings, depending on how you work, to do your own thing. But you are still, you know, especially if you're senior, you are in a structure of an organisation. So it depends where you're at. It depends how open and transparent, as you said, that you can be. And I think it also depends on what is the length of time that you are going to do what I call hedging your bets. How long are you going to sit in and sit out before perhaps you decide that, no, I want to be all out, or no, that's not working for me, I'm going to stay in. Yeah. I don't find that there's a huge amount of people who do what you're still currently doing and thriving in, which is I'm doing both. You know, I do find that a lot of women get to the point where they say something's going to go here. I've either decided, yep, this is absolutely, I'm going to go for it, and I've set myself up that I can do that. Or, you know, a lot of people go out and realize it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and I actually want to go back. And I'm not going to thrive in this environment like I've thrived in this environment. And there's no shame in that, you know. Sometimes we don't know until we've tried it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I think there's a couple of things with that as well. Is obviously that you're in a non-compete, so you're not doing what you do in your job on a day-to-day basis in your own business. So that's really important. But yeah, that transparency I think is really key. And I think that the more we hide it, sometimes the more it feels like you're doing something wrong. So it's almost better just to be upfront. If there's nothing to hide and you are maybe part-time doing something else, then it's sort of worth just having that conversation with your leadership too.
Yeah, look, if you can, there are, I mean, let's be real, right? There are going to be situations where you are in paid employment, you really don't like your paid employment, maybe you don't like your boss, maybe you don't trust your boss. I mean, this happens, okay, let's be honest. And that you are slowly building something on the side so you can get out of that situation. Yeah. If that's the case, then, you know, you need to fulfill your work responsibilities with integrity. Yeah. So that you are ethically sound. You know, don't try and be doing your work on the side in your day job, because you're not going to feel good about yourself. And if you get found out, you're going to get fired. Yeah. And the company be well within their rights to do that. Yeah. Okay. So we want to feel that we are, you know, with full integrity. But a lot of people are in a situation where they don't like where they're at, they don't like what they're doing, and it really is how fast can I build this plan so that I can exit that business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So let's go on to another topic that I love, which is women in leadership. I'm so passionate about it, and I actually went to my first Lean In group a little while ago that was organised here in Melbourne. That was just incredible. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but walked away just going, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And so what are some of the key things that you talk about when it comes to women in leadership? Whether is it just in the corporate world, or is it women in leadership in general out there in our community and society? What are some of the things you focus on?
So it's both. The work I do in corporates is around what we call positive leadership for aspiring women, and that's all about how to lead like a woman.
Yes.
Now that doesn't mean you're going to go to work in pigtails, with pink ribbons in your hair. Although if that floats your boat, you go for it. But it's really about how do we help women show up authentically? How do we help women show up as women, not what the research calls the third sex, which is essentially alpha women who've modeled themselves on male models of success and power, because that's what we see, and to a large extent we still see within our organisational, structures. So, the leadership work that I do looks at, there's deep research now around feminine traits and how feminine traits like nurturing, empathy, collaboration, innovation are the traits that people all over the world, young and old, want to see in the leaders of the future, whether they are men or whether they are women. So how do we help women step into and acknowledge and own their feminine traits? How do we help women understand their purpose and their passion and build their life vision so that their career sits inside something for their life, not is trying to squeeze into the corners of, of a career that takes up 500,000 hours in a week?
Yeah.
How do we help build confidence and help women work on their strengths? A lot of my work is based on positive psychology, with a side serve of neuroscience. So how do we help women have a strengths-based approach to how they show up? And then all the way through to well-being, resiliency, how to build positive habits, and how to pull it all together in a way that works for their life and for their career. So, it's quite deep, it's evidence-based, and, I guess I bring to that 20 years in business and, 12 years as an executive, but also a lot of the science. We need to understand what actually works in practice, not just what we think are some nice to haves.
Yeah.
So, all of that in the mix for my leadership work.
That's a lot. And they're big topics as well. Like you said, it does go really deep. So the other thing that I speak to a lot of women about is that confidence piece. It's that confidence, whether they're in a career where they really want to step into their passion and their own worth, or whether it is taking that leap of faith into their own business, but really backing themselves. And so you do talk about neuroscience and the psychology behind it. And I recently did an interview with that was around this topic as well. So I completely love it. I find it fascinating. What are some of the things that you think women can do for themselves to really start to own that confidence and to believe in themselves and to know that this is something that they can achieve? What kind of journey do you think women go on to get there?
Do you mean specifically the journey to actually say, I can back myself and I'm going to go and step out and do what I want to do?
Yeah.
Well, it's a similar journey whether you're in or whether you're out.
Yeah, exactly.
I like women to start with, what is my vision? Like, what am I actually trying to create for myself? And I find, and I speak to thousands of women every year, and I coach a lot of women. Many, many women have never been asked that question in terms of what do you want? What are you actually trying to intentionally create for your life? Yeah. So I like to start there. I think that's the beginning of the journey, and I talk about that a lot in my book, Getting Real About Having It All, that you referred to. What feels purposeful? Where is the meaning? When we look at our work, it's staggering how many people don't have meaning. They're not doing purposeful work in the world. Yeah. And we know that if you're going after profit goals, not purposeful goals, that every measure of satisfaction and productivity goes like through the floor. So what is purposeful and meaningful work for you? What's the plan around that? We do a lot of work around career planning. But then when it comes to confidence, we know that there are certain things that really undermine everything that we want to create, and this is especially relevant to women. So what are the stories we're telling ourselves? How do we tune into those stories, and how do we change those stories? Yeah. Because invariably, it doesn't matter who I'm working with, whether I'm working with a CEO or a board member, or whether I'm working with a hotshot entrepreneur or someone who is a grad who wants to create a fantastic career for herself inside an organization. I would say the number one thing, probably one of the top 3 things that minimizes success, no matter where you're at, is the stories we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We can have a whole conversation about that, but there's 3 key things I'd say for your wonderful listeners to do. The first one is you've got to start to catch the story.
Yeah.
So what is when you are afraid to take action, which is one of the core reasons why when confidence plummets, we don't take action.
Yes.
Right? We stay stuck. We stay in the same place, which is why we see the research about the woman who didn't speak up in the meeting, the woman who didn't ask for the pay rise. When she did ask for the pay rise, she negotiated 30% less. The rates, entrepreneurs charge their clients and how they undercharge. Yeah, it's all around belief stories and taking action. So the first thing is, how do you catch the story?
Mm-hmm.
Start to catch the stories you're telling yourself. When you have a limiting thought, I can't create my own business, I'm not going to be good enough, I'm not going to get clients. Excuse the bus going past. We're living in the real world here. Yeah. What's the story that you're telling yourself? The question that you then ask, step 2, is that true? Because what we find when we're telling ourselves stories is we just go on this negative downward spiral of negative emotions, and that's when we get stuck and we won't take action. As soon as we can challenge that story, is that true? More often than not, we find that it's actually complete rubbish, and it's our mean girl sitting on our shoulder telling us all the crap that's, got nothing to do with reality. So is that true? And then how do I reframe that story in a way that will instill confidence in me and help me take the action I need to take to move forward?
And so with that, Megan, just a question in there. So with the is that true, if somebody's lacking in confidence and maybe hasn't had, I guess, the history or the support in the past, how is it possible for them to change that story themselves, or do they really need help to change that story? Because to them, maybe they feel that is true.
Is true.
Yeah.
So look, I find that with most women, you can do both.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times, just working, I see this in the leadership work that I do, and also in my coaching clients. Once you start to work that through, and you really sit with it, not as a flippant exercise, but when you really sit with and get honest with yourself, in a lot of cases, you can work that through. You can work those steps through and come up with the story, and in some cases, part of that story might be true. So I can't start my own business, I'm not ready. That's the story. Is that true? Well, that is true, I'm not ready, but if I do X, Y, and Z over the next 3 months, I will be ready, right? Then you can reframe that story. In some cases, the stories are very tightly buried in beliefs, and they might be beliefs that we've grown up with. We have a lot of a lot of beliefs embedded in us from 0 to 5. And you might need a coach or somebody else who is skilled to help you break that down and then rebuild it.
Yeah.
So there's not one size fits all, but, in a lot of cases, working through those 3 steps on your own, or working through them with like maybe a peer buddy or a friend who you trust can be exceptionally helpful.
Yeah. Fantastic. And so for the women that are sitting in corporates, I think I've said to you before, I am very fortunate. I work in a business that allows me a lot of creative space to build the area of the business that I'm in. What can organisations do, because I'm really passionate about this as well, what can organisations do to really get the best out of women in their business who do have this entrepreneurial spirit? Yeah. And where they may not be going out and starting their own business, because it's not for everybody, and I'm really conscious of that as well, which is why I do like to talk about both. Yeah. But what can organisations do, or what can we do as well to try and foster that entrepreneurial spirit that is really just thriving at the moment out there? And I think that there's a missed opportunity if organisations don't capitalise on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favourite topics, so thank you for asking the question. How long have we got? 5 hours?
You can go on this topic. Go for your life.
So there's a couple of elements. One of the core, and this is the work that I'm doing inside organizations. You know, we've got one of the, well, it's NAB. I can name them because it's an award-winning program and they're doing phenomenal things for their women. You know, we've got 400 plus women in their Women in Technology group going through the Positive Leadership Program. And, you know, and that's the steps that I was talking about before. And the results are phenomenal. Like, these women are just thriving to the point that the men are going, what are you doing to these women and how do I get it? Because it's just spreading like wildfire, you know, through the bank. So some of the core components of that, getting people to tap into their strengths and use their strengths at work. You know, we know from decade-long research that only 2 out of 10 people get to do what they do best every day at work, meaning they use their strengths. Yeah. The strengths tool that I use is the VIA in Action survey, the Values in Action survey. It's free. People can go and use it at viame.org, vme.org.
I'll have the link. Get
the link. And it tells you what intrinsically motivates you. So what are you inherently good at? And what do you love doing? So things like, you know, my top 3, creativity, curiosity, love of learning. You know, no surprise that I've been studying for 20 years. I've done 2 master's degrees. I'm doing a PhD. You know, creativity, I'm, you know, writing books. Yeah, you know, it's things I love doing and things that I'm good at. When organizations can help their women, or everybody, but their women specifically, because we know women really thrive and get into this, understand what their strengths are and then understand how can I apply those strengths in my job, we see them flourish. Yeah. You know, it also helps women really get to that authenticity that I was talking about at the beginning, and tap into those feminine traits in a way that they have a whole new permission to do, so that they can thrive. And the creativity, the innovation, the entrepreneurship that comes out when you start using your strengths at work, the confidence you get from using your strengths at work, it's one of the easiest ways that organizations and women themselves who are listening, whether they're in corporates or in their own business, you know, can really use to thrive in whatever they're doing. And it works at home as well.
Yeah, no, I think that that's amazing as well. And it is something that I am really conscious of, that I think that, you know, I do hear other women that say, I just don't have the freedom to do that. And I just think, oh, she's so passionate and she's so driven. If a company actually tapped into that, I think that there's just a whole area there that they could really, you know, I don't know, build new ideas, build new business areas, build new revenue streams, if they would just kind of allow that to, you know, unfold.
Yeah, or just be more productive, happy and engaged in the job. So their job might not be to build new revenue streams and build new businesses, but they can absolutely bring more creativity and more innovation and more enjoyment and more passion into whatever the job is, you know, through having more confidence, through using their strengths, through showing up more authentically, And yes, we can wait for organizations to do that, but you know, my message to all women is it's on you. Like, don't wait for someone else to say, hey, go and use your strengths, or go and learn about growth mindset, or, you know, go and read the confidence code so that you understand more about what's going on, you know, with confidence. Do it for yourself. And then work out how to apply it. And if you can't apply it in the organization you're working in and you don't want to step out, go find somewhere else where you can thrive. It's on us.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really great message as well, because I do think that there is a lot of opportunity out there right now that to either do something that you're passionate about outside of the corporate world. Otherwise, there are businesses, I think, that are getting on board and understand that if you get, you know, when you hire people based on their passion and their potential, that, you know,
without question, they're everywhere. You know, they're everywhere. So, you know, you just have to decide, what do you want? What are you intrinsically good at? What intrinsically lights you up and sets you on fire? And what do you want to be doing? Like, how do you want to spend your days? I always get my clients to do this exercise around, what's my ideal day? What does it look like? What am I doing? Who am I working with? Who am I playing with? You know, what are the elements of things that I really want to make sure that I have in my day every day? Go find that. You know, that's where you're going to be happy and where you're going to thrive. And if you can identify it, you will find it.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Fantastic. One last question I've got is around personal brand. So, because we have a theme every month in the Connection Exchange, and this month it is personal brand. So we're going to be talking a lot about it. And so what's your tips on personal brand, whether it be in your business or in corporate? What are some of the key things that people can do to really make sure that their personal brand is what it should be?
So that's really funny, actually. I didn't know that this was your monthly topic. This is a hot topic, right?
We like to have hot topics.
It's a hot topic. I wrote an article for Huffington. I blog for Huffington Post.
Awesome.
And an article up on Huffington Post recently on 5 keys to your personal brand, and it just went thousands and just went viral, completely viral. Mm-hmm. So this is a hot topic. So what do I say on personal brand? A couple of things. You need to be authentic, right? Your personal brand, number one, everyone has a personal brand. And if you don't think you have a personal brand, well, you might be dead. Because if you're not dead, like even if you're in the 5th grade, you have a brand. You know, it's your reputation. It's how you show up. Yeah. So be really clear that you have one and that it's on you to cultivate it and turn it into what you want it to be. One of the key things around personal branding is deciding and understanding, what do you want to be known for? Mm-hmm. What is it that you want to be known for? Is it for being the most efficient person in the office? Is it for being the fix-it person? You know, when we need something fixed, you know, Suzanne, we give it to you. Mm-hmm. Is it that you want to be a thought leader in women leadership and work? You know, what is it? What is it you want to be known for? You can't be known for everything. So, you know, you have to decide. For women who are still inside an organisation, you need to make sure that you can show up as the real you and demonstrate your authentic personal brand every day that you go to work. And that is everything from the type of work that you want to be doing, the work you want to be known for, how you want to operate that's authentic and integral to who you are, right down to things like how you want to dress every day when you go to work. And it may sound flippant, but it's not. If you're a fully creative person, and you want to have pink hair and, you know, speckled glasses and wear alligator shoes to work or boots, you know, with 15 buckles like I used to, and you can't show up authentically in that, and that's not going to represent you, well, then you need to think about, why am I here? You know, why am I in this environment? But it's really about, you know, what you do, how you want to do it, and what you want to be known for, you know, and how that fits in with your values and with your integrity for the legacy that you want to leave.
Yeah. And do you and for you, is it a strategy? And when I say that, I don't mean calculated, but more like really thinking about, this is who I want to be, this is what I want to be known for, and then really putting steps in place. Apart from just, you know, doing what you do and doing it authentically and doing it well, but being quite strategic as well as to how you position yourself out there to ensure that personal brand is realised.
For me personally, so one of the core elements of my personal brand is being real, right? I wrote a book called Getting Real about having it all. I'm very, very clear on my areas. What do I want to be known for? You know, I'm a strategist, I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker. I specialise in women leadership and wellbeing, and power, which is the feminine power, which is the topic of my PhD research. And I'm really passionate and purposeful about that. So because I'm so clear on that, I know where I want to be. I know which opportunities to say yes to and no to, and where I can be for me, which is very important. Where can I be of the most service? Yeah. You know, where can I serve the most people or the right people or the particular person that I need to be serving at this point in time? And how do I want to show up in the world? So, you know, that's about being real, it's about being authentic, it's about being credible, it's about being of service. So when you get all of those things lined up, you don't need a strategy for your personal brand, because it is just who you are, and it's who I am, whether I'm with a client in my dining room, which is where I do my strategy work, or whether I'm in a corporate boardroom, it's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's been a journey.
Yeah.
I didn't just wake up one morning and go, oh, right, I got it all together. That's absolutely been a journey. And there were absolutely strategic milestones along that. But the strategic milestones were really just how do I get back to, how do I get to that true, authentic, purposeful place, you know, and have the courage and the confidence to show up like that every day in every situation.
Yeah.
And then it's not about strategy anymore. It's just about this is what it is, you know. I'm sitting in my very messy home office that you can't see actually, whatever it is, you know, in a hippie dress with a ponytail. It's just, it is what it is, yeah? So I think going through a process of identifying that for women who haven't been on that journey, that's a strategy without question.
Yeah.
But it's not what we see in politics, which is a strategy to create the most likable, if that's an oxymoron in politics, but, you know, the most acceptable, socially acceptable, politically acceptable version of yourself. Yeah. That's not what this is around personal brand.
No.
It's getting to the true, authentic place you want to be for your work and for your life, and then showing up as that. That is how you represent your personal brand.
Love it. Thank you.
It's a hot topic. We could talk on it forever.
I know. It is such a great topic. And I do think because we're so public these days, you know, people do ask me, they're like, well, especially when they're just starting out, how do I build my personal brand? How do I position myself as a thought leader, or how do I position myself in a way that, you know, amongst the people that are talking about whatever it is, you know, health, wellness, coaching, whatever it is that you want to specialize in. So
that's a bit different. So let's just be really clear. So part of that is around marketing and around promotion and around PR and around thought leadership building. Yeah. You absolutely need strategies around that, especially if you are, you know, running your own business or you're a thought leader working in another business. Yeah. But that's sort of like a tack on to personal brand development. But it is, I mean, that's its own sort of, I was going to say beast, but beautiful beast.
Little bit,
you know, that you absolutely have to work on. So just to clarify, I think it's important.
Sure. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it. I do love the topic of leadership and personal brand, and I knew that you were somebody that we could definitely speak to that's out there and just speaking to so many people in the market, that it's just been great to just find out a little bit more about what you think on these topics.
No, you're so welcome. It's been a pleasure. Great interview. Chat, really.
Thank you. All right, guys, well, we will see you again in Exchanger TV, and I'll have all of Megan's links below as well, so you can go and check out her work, and I'll go find that Huffington Post article as well on personal branding, because I think it's a great article for us this month, and we'll see you very soon.